Hi guys! Hi guys! How you doing? Welcome to BunkaMania Wrestling. Hi guys! Welcome. I'm Jeremy. That's Harriett. That's Matty. Welcome. Hi guys. God, that was awkward. Welcome to our AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view for 2024 review. I am Jeremy. As I said, I am joined by Harriett and Matty, who is still somehow waving with that wonderful looking face there. And we are here to have what we are going to describe as a casual conversation about our thoughts on the pay-per-view. We're going to touch on, for about the next 60, 70 minutes or so, quite frankly, whatever comes up in our brains relating to the pay-per-view. Matty, how are you still waving? If you're listening on the audio version, you will have no idea what we're talking about. But thank you very much for downloading this on your podcast provider of choice. Is what Matty, that's really distracting. Your podcast provider of choice. And of course, if you're joining us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/BunkaMania UK, thank you very much. You can post your comments throughout the show. And if you're watching the YouTube version as well, you can do the same there as well at BunkaMania UK. And speaking of, we have our Grand Emperor, as it were, the Decadane, in the chat as well, Mr. Ian Bolton. He will be, I'm sure, curious to know what we're vaguely curious about ourselves, about what we curiously thought about this AEW pay-per-view. So, because curiosity is getting the better of us, I think the way we should begin this review is with a simple question to each of us. How would we rate the show overall? Thumbs up, down, or in the middle. For the benefit of audio listeners, we will make sure to say what we each think, but we're just going to simply now, for the purposes of the camera, hold a hand signal up to screen, if you will. In three...
Are we doing this to the...
Yeah, literally all together. 3, 2, 1. So Matty's waving. Harriett's a thumbs up, and I'm a thumbs in the middle. I will qualify mine by saying sort of towards a thumbs up, but I'm going thumbs in the middle, which is rare for me on an AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I will give my legit one.
Thumbs middle.
Because,
yeah. But I loved everything on the show. But it, as an AEW pay-per-view, it was all right. It's like,
did it have anything to do with that before the show began, there were 14 matches advertised, but Decadane-san, we must correct you, because on the pre-show, they added another match, making it 15.
15!
Because Tony Khan has been given way too many sherbet fountains, right? And after he's been on like his 14th one, he thought, do you know what this needs? A 15th one. We need a 15th match. So let's just say, this is the Ring of Honor match, and just for the sake of it, we'll just have Serpentico facing off against Carl Fletcher, who then did a murder. He murdered Serpentico in front of us.
It's literally I said this in the chat last night. It's like he's seen WWE you have about 4 or 5 matches now on average on a pay-per-view, which is normal. And Tony's gone, no, we're gonna double it. No, triple it. That's literally it. I can't get over. I mean, I'm slowly getting used to AEW, but I think because I'm so spoilt now with how many less matches there are, it was literally, as I was watching this day, it's like, we're not even halfway through, and I'm just like, oh Lord, there's a lot of matches still to go through.
You know what? I'll give them. They have been learning, Harriet, because what they did, they did this innovation, right? They put a promo in between matches.
Who's they? Sorry,
they being the booking committee. Okay, Tony Khan.
You meant AEW? I thought you meant WWE.
Yeah. Jeremy, you and me have watched AEW pay-per-views, right? We know that the way to do it is literally start a match straight after the other one's finished. After the other one's finished. We've had AEW pay-per-views in the past where that has happened. So they put a promo package between each of the matches this time. That's how you do it.
So I think an interesting thing to point out, and we'll sort of get back to our thoughts on the show as a whole in a second, but the thing about this show, and this is also for your benefit as well, Harriet, because for anyone who is watching this who might be a new viewer, if you're listening to this on audio and you're a new listener, thank you very much for checking us out once again. Both Matty and I are more, well, let's call ourselves seasoned watchers of AEW. Harriet, you are more a newcomer wanting to get into it more. You've seen a few bits here and there. You were at All In last year and such, but you're sort of getting more into this. And this is kind of a fun way for us to be able to discuss this. And in the calendar, this is a very, there's also, if you're watching on video, there's a very random fly that's just appeared in my room, and it's really annoying, that aside. But with this pay-per-view, it's what I describe as the equivalent of an event in the world of comic books that while the event is on, lots of status quos change, lots of things occur, but when all is said and done, maybe one or two things will carry over forward, but otherwise it's basically just its own individual crossover event. And that's what makes such good fun. But the difference with this year's Forbidden Door, though, and the original as well, is I think that there is actually more to this that plays into the greater pantheon of AEW. And not to flex a muscle once again when it comes to this experience, but I was at Forbidden Door last year, and I basically went on the back of two matches, which I thought were going to happen, which was Danielson and Okada and Omega and Ospreay. So from that point of view, it was very much like a dream match scenario. Obviously, Omega and Ospreay had kind of built up in various promotions in New Japan and AEW as well. But in that context, it was all about those two big dream matches. Whereas this year's Forbidden Door, a lot more of it felt driven in a particular direction. And as a result, more of it has impact. For example, last year at Forbidden Door, people forget this, Jack Perry challenged for the IWGP title against Sanada in like a 5-minute match in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
And like that's almost a pub quiz question, like who challenged for the IWGP title? So yeah, in the context of AEW and New Japan, this show felt very different, very fun, had more direction, but ironically because of that, there was almost too much on this show, in my opinion. There were definitely things that could have been saved for a Dynamite and elsewhere. But the main show, the main 4-hour show as a whole, I thought was a very good show. Again, some stuff could have been cut out. So with that in mind, Harriet, is this your first Forbidden Door that you've seen?
Yes. So I kind of I mean, like I said, started getting into it. I mean, I watched a review last year that you did because, like you said, you were there. So I was aware of like this crossover because it's always been not frowned about, but it's always been talked about. It's like, oh, what if? And it's like dream matches, and I think I remember last year there was like somewhat of a curse, like matches that were bound to happen couldn't happen because of injuries and stuff like that. So
yeah, that was a story of the first Forbidden Door, if I remember correctly. It was injury hell. Like every match that was planned basically couldn't happen.
Yeah, so it was that's how I was made aware of it. And then so this is the first time I've watched it in full, part of the pre-show, but it was just interesting because as I'm going along, I'm learning about the wrestlers who are currently in AEW, and now learning about these other wrestlers who have come into this. I know a few from Stardom, so I was aware of them, but I thought it was great. I think that's probably wise because you're both used to it, and for me, it's just like, this is amazing. Because I really enjoyed some of the matches.
Don't get me wrong, it was amazing, but I think, not to jump on your point here and such, but it's. I think from the perspective of watching the show from front to back, there was stuff in it that was fun, but it didn't need to be there. And Matty, I'm sure this will probably lead into a point you're going to have, and I'll let you get your thoughts across now. But for example, best will in the world, I love the trio of Hook, Shibata, and Samoa Joe. It is an amazing trio. That match did not need to be on this show, much as I would love for them to have been on the show.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It was a match. I kind of was just like, that was not my best of the whole pay-per-view. That was the one I just went,
Matty, how about
you?
You literally just said everything I was about to say quite eloquently. I said before we kicked off here, the Jericho multi-man match didn't need to be on this card. I was excited for Jericho versus Minoru Suzuki, and the fact that is just a match on Dynamite is excruciating to me. Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I know that Suzuki isn't 100% contracted to New Japan anymore, but he still has a rich history with the company, and he's Minoru freaking Suzuki. So you put Minoru Suzuki on the card. There's no explanation.
Maybe
you could just swap that. Yeah.
Maybe Murder Grandpa just said, "I can't work that Sunday."
It could be what he said, actually.
And you don't deny that to Murder Grandpa. No.
I'm going to say Sean's just made a very valid point on the Twitch chat. By the way, of course, we are doing this live. If you're a viewer, if you're watching this on Twitch, by all means, please chit-chat away over on the comment section.
YouTube as well, please.
I was about to say YouTube as well. Give Harry some work. I'm just helping Harriet. But yes.
But you were saying about Sean's point, though.
Sean's point, though, he said, I wish I was more into Forbidden Door, just don't know enough about New Japan Pro Wrestling, which he is. He's in the casual fan camp. I'd say, Jeremy, to this end, would this be a suitable enough introduction to not only New Japan, but CMLL as well?
I would say because this is kind of a bit of a story time with Jeremy thing, and already our plan of trying to go an hour is going to pot. But so I originally got into I was able to get into Japanese wrestling far more when I was before there was a New Japan World or the streaming services, and you had to get hold of your Japanese wrestling through other means, let's say. And the way I did it was I tried to watch shows where there were wrestlers I was familiar with on the show. And then through part of that, you would get introduced to other people. It was mostly when TNA was doing stuff with Japan randomly. When they had their Global Impact show collaboration thing at the Tokyo Dome and a few things after that. That's kind of when I really tried to make an effort to do it. And it was great fun. But a show like this, from a brand new viewer point of view, there's virtually no language gap, other than maybe you can't understand what the wrestlers themselves may say every so often. But otherwise, this is a great introductory point, in my opinion.
Absolutely, sure. By the way, that was my introduction to the Tokyo Dome shows as well, was via TNA. First through, ironically, Jeff Jarrett, but also through their interactions with TNA. And didn't they botch that first time around? That's
a story for another day.
Absolutely. I'm going to put a pin on that one. But and then obviously we had Wrestle Kingdom off the back of that, and I started watching Wrestle Kingdoms every year. That was my New Japan viewing, more or less, on good old Daily Motion as well.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
I mean, mine was the first when NJPW came to London.
Yep.
That was a good few years ago. That was the first time I ever watched, because I actually went to the show to see it live. I still have my hoodie downstairs. I found it this morning, funnily enough.
Was that Royal Quest?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Royal Quest, yeah.
And I would just say via YouTube, Sean says.
Yay!
Talk about multitasking. Heck in hell.
There you go.
Sean is everywhere.
Everywhere. But yeah, so in terms of someone wanting to jump in and just get an introduction to lots of people, I find that having people you're familiar with interacting with others you are not familiar with is a great way to do it. It's like if you go to an independent wrestling show, you may be familiar with a few people, you will by proxy be introduced to other wrestlers on the card. And in terms of this card as a whole, when it comes to sort of discussing the show, as it were, let's each of us pick 3 matches. Don't necessarily have to be the top 3, just the top 3 in order. Let's just say top 3 matches on the show. You can include the pre-show in this if you want to as well. So, to give you folks more time to think of this if you want, I am going to say in no particular order my favorite matches on the show. And I might have to quantify at least one of the reasons why I'm picking one of these in a minute, because it may surprise some of you. But the main event, I will say that's my number 1. The main event of Swerve and Ospreay was incredible. Yeah. So that's my number 1. I also think that Bryan Danielson and Shingo is on that top 3 for me. It wasn't the match I was expecting, but it was a damn good match. They gave me a match I wasn't expecting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the other match, in fact, I'm going to change my answer, and I'll come back to what I was going to say about the other match I was going to pick a bit later. But the other match I am going to go with, in terms of being my top 3 on the show, is probably going to be MJF and Hechicero. Because it was a big styles clash in many ways. Many people say, what are they going to do here? And it was actually really simple and good fun. You got to see the technical elements of Hechicero in a really big way. You got to see MJF being MJF, and it actually just worked pretty well. It's probably a toss-up. If you ask me a different day, I might say Zach and Cassidy instead of that match, but it's a toss-up between the two. Harriet, how about you? What would you say were your top 3 matches from the show?
Okay, I think number 1 definitely was Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, because oh my god. Now, I rarely swear on this stream, and I apologize in advance. But holy shit, that was a match!
So good. So good.
God,
I
such a potty mouth.
I'm sorry. I was legitimately just on the edge of my seat. I was just like, oh my god. I mean, the moves throughout was just incredible. They're just brilliant together, and obviously they knew each other beforehand, so they kind of the history together. The second and third kind of I can't define, but I really enjoyed the ladder match for the
TNT.
was it the TNT Championship? Yeah. That was good. Oh my god, Leo Rush, he never wants to see ladders again. After that,
apparently he has actually
ladders.
He has actually been pulled from a wrestling show in a couple of days, actually, I think perhaps stemming from that. So apparently he just said, I just need to, he's basically come out and said, I basically need to ice bath for a few days and I'll be good. But
I don't blame him. I mean, even a Briscoe with that. Briscoe is crazy. Jeez, 2 power moves he did, and I was just like, I kid you not, I was just like this, like pretty much throughout that whole match.
Mark Briscoe is a national treasure that must be protected, much like Okada from what he was doing in that trios match.
I want a feud between him and Jack Perry now as well, please.
Yep.
Oh, Briscoe and Perry.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be good. And then the third one was the Women's Championship, Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Because
also really good.
I mean, I love Toni Storm, so that was a great match. I loved the whole story. I think I even sent Matty a picture of what happened afterwards. I was like,
yeah, did you? Yeah, where they were all walking hand in hand. Well, rather hand to butt, because like Mariah May. Yeah. Mariah May. She's got Mina in one side of her, she's got Tony in the other, and they're literally all hand to hand, but their hands are like a little bit lower down. And it's like, well, we're a trio now.
I mean, I think that was cemented by the 3-way kiss, quite frankly. But,
I mean, there is
the last day of Pride yesterday, so
I mean,
amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So. Yeah, those are my 3 matches. I really enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed a lot more matches as well, but those were the 3 I remember because, those are the ones. The women's match I was definitely looking forward to anyway, but the other 2 kind of cemented. Damn, I mean, there was another option, but those are my 3. So
yeah. Matty, how about you?
Before I give you my 3, I just want to put this out here. 15 match card, right? So it's still rather minimalist. We had 4 women's matches on this card when usually you get a token 1. And all 4 matches had some ramifications involved in play. You had an Owen Cup tournament match, which may like go into another storyline that we had in another match later on. We had, obviously, the 2 women's championship matches. And then we had the continuing Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. And also 2 Stardom ladies were there as well, who also got the win. That's the other thing. It wasn't just AEW people that won matches around here. That's also pretty good for political reasons and the usual cross promotion sort of like friendliness. I'm trying to find the right words. But yeah, 4 women's matches. None of them were filler. All were, that's good to see. More of this, please. With that being said, my 3, I'm going to make it a 3 for 3. I bloody loved Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Do I think it had any right to be on this card? Really not. I think you should have saved this for All In. But then I think you could not elongate that storyline any further than it had to be. But yeah, Will and Swerve. And then the mark of respect between them at the end as well. Talking about mark of respect, I will say Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. was one of my 3. I love that match. I love how people talk about Bret Hitman Hart, and I do as well, because I'm a Bret guy.
Likewise.
The fact that Zack Sabre Jr. has all the technical skills, he's very much firmly a mat-based wrestler, but he also has the chops and charisma on top of that as well, which is, bless his cotton socks, something Bret never had. Like, he is the total package. If something were to happen with Zack in New Japan, they'd be absolutely foolish not to sign him.
I reckon he might be going far in the G1 this year, let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah, he even mentioned it as he left the ring. He said, watch me in G1. Let's hope so. Let's absolutely hope so. And also, I don't know about his conditioning, but he's put on a bit of muscle mass since the Cruiserweight Classic.
Having to wrestle people slapping him all the time or whatnot.
He's ginormous now. He came into the WWE Cruiserweight Classic. Like he was practically a stick insert, and now look at him. It's awesome. Anyway.
All that ramen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All that vegan ramen. Oh, man. Yeah. Never besmirch the power of veganism. Yeah. And then, I'm actually having a real tough time with my 3rd one. I would say the women's matches. I'm going to give it to... No, I'm going to say Danielson and Takagi as well, because I really loved that match. I think Harriett was absolutely on the money with the Tony match. I also say that Mercedes and Stephanie was also a really good match. Kind of ended a little bit abrupt. But as a work rate match, it was also incredible. And hopefully that will mean something for Stephanie down the line as well, because I think she is also the total package. I love her work in CMML as well as Stardom. So, yes. So
if I may jump on that. I may jump on that point, I think that's an interesting point of discussion. The TBS title match was a really good match, but it was really good, and I'm going to be very blunt here, because Mercedes is clearly an amazing wrestler. Has had incredible matches. We've seen a lot of them in her career. She's come back. The match with Willow was really freaking good. There was a lot of story behind it and whatnot. It was a spectacle, and it worked really well. This match with Stephanie Vacure, apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong, folks. With Stephanie, I'll say for the sake of discussion. The match with Stephanie was really good, but I am putting that down to Stephanie. Because on this show, she came across like a flipping superstar by the end of that match, partly because seemingly the New York crowd figured out that Mercedes is from Boston. They don't like Boston. Let's crap all over Boston. And it just turned it like it was Hulk Hogan and The Rock at Mania 18 randomly.
Congrats to the commentary team for bringing that up, by the way.
Yes, they did, yeah.
But Stephanie looked like $1 million in this match and coming out of it. And by the end of it, I actually was like, no, I actually want her to win. And for the second successive AEW pay-per-view in a row, Mercedes has beaten the person I want to win in a title match.
It is. Can I also say the one slight in this whole match is it was obvious they were told to wrap up the match as quick as possible, because Stephanie was tapping even before Mercedes even had a chance to sink in the move. So it was like they were told you've got to go home. And that is my one flaw. That's it.
Like I say, really good match, but I put out of the two, I say Stephanie was the one that came out better from it, despite the fact now that Mercedes also a double champion. Also, very amusing that Stephanie came with 3 belts, and they didn't actually properly acknowledge the other 2, which is quite amusing.
No, because I was like, where are these belts? I want to know about them. No, it's just about the other championship. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think she's also I think she's also a champion in CMLL, but because this is the CMLL are also involved in this, but it's not like they were putting them over as much as they were the New Japan guys. And we had a lot of CMLL talent in this, but that's only because of their working arrangement with New Japan in the first place.
I'll take quick clarification on that. She is the current CMLL World Women's Champion in her first reign, and one half of the CMLL World Women's Tag Team Champions with Zuxis, I think it was pronounced, who Mercedes wrestled a few weeks back on Dynamite.
Indeed.
And in fact, Jay Kane on the YouTube chat, thank you very much for clarifying that. I literally read that before your comment popped up, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. I believe she was holding one of those titles when I watched that multi-woman team in the CMML show from a few, I think it was it Triple Mania? I think it was Triple Mania.
Fantastic Mania?
No, Fantastic Mania, because Triple Mania is AAA, isn't it? But it was her, Willow, and Tessa Blanchard, and somebody else, and I believe she was a champion then as well. So that's how I know about that. But it's like, there was a lot of glossing over of certain other things going into play here, and that was definitely one of them. She's a star in the making. Wherever she lands, they'd be lucky to have her.
And then at the end of the match...
I was going to say, you know what wasn't glossed over, though? We got a freaking return we've been waiting for a while.
I did pop for this, I'm not going to lie.
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, is back. Did the whole pose, got the whole pyro treatment, and... basically, I'm going to call it now. That's the Wembley match for Mercedes Moné.
Yep, that's all in.
Britt Baker and Mercedes.
It was also a direct mirror of what Mercedes did to Willow Nightingale upon Willow Nightingale winning the TBS Championship.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, because I did see that.
Back there.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
So you read what
jumped
you're told.
Yeah, and of course, the thing is though. The one not taking away from the Brit return, because it was great to see Brit back, and I cannot wait just to see them back on TV in general. The other thing in the back of my brain is, where's Jamie Hayter? I need the package deal. Come on.
I mean, Tony can keep on saying, well, we're saving her for All In. The longer you keep her out, like, the colder that's going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, there has been some talk that she might still actually be in recovery and is not actually fully ready yet. Because the shoulder injury was that bad. We don't know for sure.
I swear he actually said not too long ago that Britt Baker is not far off from recovery, and then suddenly she turns up.
Oh my God, I've just realised something.
Oh.
So as we know, Mariah May won her Owen Cup tournament match.
Correct.
Yes. That was
where the Owen, the winners of the Owen, where are they fighting? If they win the tournament? Who is
All In? No.
They're fighting in Cal. No. The winner overall for the Owen Cup get to challenge the champions at All In. Who is the current champion?
Tony Storm.
Yeah. You've just realised that.
Also, Mariah May is British.
Yep.
Right, good night, everyone. No, I can't.
No, honestly, do you know what? I was going to try and come on to this a bit later, but we'll just do it as we're going on because we're having an actual discussion here.
Yeah.
The way that All In is shaping up now, like, I'll say it now. I think the main event of All In is going to be Danielson v Swerve for the title.
Yeah.
To me, that seems the most logical route to go down here.
In his retirement match. Well, retirement.
Well, this is his last year. Yeah.
Oh, he'll be back.
Because I think he hasn't won anything yet.
Yeah, but I think they've kind of. I make it sound like I'm being really picky, but I'm not. They've changed the wording slightly now, in that they kind of now say he's going to be stopping being a full-time wrestler. So I'm now just imagining, in a year's time, Danielson's basically going to be Roman Reigns.
To be
where
fair,
he'll be there once every 3 months.
To be fair, he always said that it was going to be like constant wrestling, like always like a full-time wrestler. He always said it was that. He never said it was a retirement per se. So I'll forgive him for this. We're not talking Terry Funk retirement here.
His last full year as an active wrestler. I think that was the phrasing, memory serves.
Yeah. Because he's already talked about being in the Continental Classic, for God's sake, and that's way after All In. So
I'm going with Danielson versus Swerve for the title. We're all in agreement of Britt versus Mercedes, Mariah May versus Tony. I also think, based on some little teasing that we're getting, we're probably going to get Ospreay and MJF.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God, who do I go for?
Be it for the International Cup, because the other thing now as well is, now that Ospreay has lost a match, it actually opens up the possibility now for what else could occur. For example, on Dynamite on Wednesday, will Daniel Garcia defeat him to become the international champion? And it's kind of almost like a random losing streak for Ospreay. That 2 huge matches in a row. Like there's a lot you can potentially do here.
The losing side creeping in,
Also, MJF, king of the nuances, right? We saw what happened in Dynamite. The whole look of like, I'm not the guy in the top spotlight anymore. This guy literally upstaged me. What am I going to do to work on that? Without saying a single thing. And yet we all guessed what he was thinking by a few simple bits of body language. I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. Would you like MJF to be a full out and out heel though for this, or are we still like lone wolf shades of grey MJF?
I don't see any way he couldn't be if it's Ospreay against him,
because Ospreay is now there's no ifs nor buts. Ospreay is perennial babyface. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, especially after the main event when, Don Callis tried to hand him the screwdriver and he nearly, but then decided, no, this isn't me, sort of thing.
Which, as well, was a wonderful callback to everything that was happening this time last year as well, after Callis had turned on Omega around and leading up to Forbidden Door and stuff. Literally, it was a wonderfully timed callback, and we haven't seen the screwdriver in a while.
No. Also, at that point, Ospreay was all in on all of that, so he knows. He knows what it means.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So in terms of other stuff that may occur, I reckon if they haven't already, by the time that they get to All In, Joe, Hook, and Shibata will challenge whoever the champions are. I assume the Bang Bang Gang for the trios titles,
and I think they should win them.
Yeah, I think that seems logical. In terms of other things, just sort of glancing at the card and everything else that's been occurring, do you know what? We could go on about that all day, but I think in terms of big matches, those are some obvious ones. One assumes we'll get a stadium stampede there. But Jay over on the YouTube chat also saying, Will leaves Don Callis and starts a feud with Fletcher.
Oh, Fletcher was absolute. Fletcher was 100% like proper, full-on, intense bad boy in his Ring of Honor match with Serpentico. The one match that represented Ring of Honor in Forbidden Door right at the start because we needed a 50th match.
In an attempt to try and add some logic to what was occurring there. So on Thursday on the Honor Club stuff, he had challenged Mark Briscoe for the ROH World title and lost. And that was stemming from the tag match a few weeks back where he pinned Mark Briscoe. Then the next day in canon, he went to Mexico. I said that because the match was taped earlier. But the next day live on Friday, he was in Mexico and lost the ROH TV title to Atlantis Jr., I want to say. And so he was on himself on a 2-match losing streak. So what better way to get off that losing streak than to just murder Serpentico, quite frankly.
Because that's what Serpentico is there for, to be murdered. That's his job now. He is Fuego del Sol because they haven't got a Fuego del Sol.
So the way I see this going, I don't think that Kyle Fletcher will turn on Ospreay, only because there's a lot of history there, but also because at some point down the line, I reckon we're going to have Mark Davis Dunkzilla back to reform Aussie Open, who of course are then a trio with Ospreay, and eventually we'll probably get the remnants of the Don Callis family versus Ospreay's army, for want of a better name.
I kind of like Carl as a heel.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I can see that being a thing, though, as it were.
Oh, yeah, I could see that for a while. And then they turn on him. And then Ozzy Osbourne. I don't. And then he bites the head off a bat and just splits it all over Will Ospreay because this is a match for the sickos, Jeremy. This is a match for the sickos.
You could say, Matty, you could say everyone will board the crazy train to Wembley and then they'll bark at the moon when the show finishes at gone midnight on Bank Holiday Sunday.
It's a virtual Hellraiser.
So, do you know what, in terms of other things that happen on Forbidden Door, I appreciate we're sort of talking around a lot of things, but I want to draw attention to a few spectacle moments, if you will. First of all, it was on the pre-show, but the fact we saw the Lucha Brothers teaming with Mystico, although seemingly politically it's actually kosher because of some decisions that the Lucha Brothers have been made over the past year, the idea that those three came together as a trio was pretty damn cool. It really was.
It was absolutely huge. And then was it? I can't actually remember the actual ins and outs. I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm so tired. Was it then facing up against Los Ingobernables?
It was the LIJ trio of Yota Tsuji, Titan, and Hiromu Takahashi. Of which, Titan, you're an amazing technico. You are a great. You've had some incredible matches in Japan. I'm sure in Mexico as well and whatnot. You're amazing. Please don't nearly murder Rey Fenix with the super kick.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember, but near the end of the match, it was like Phoenix had been sent through the ring with that super kick. It was mental.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, it was like a glitch in the game. You literally see him pass through the corner and just land splat on the ground behind the ring. It was
even the announcers winced in a particular way. You know, that was stiff. Let's say.
Can I just say, because this is all over the place, but it is what it is. It's a loosey-goosey conversation, guys. We just have to all just get over that. I got to put over Nigel McGuinness, at least for the first half of the entire show.
So damn good.
Nigel MVP on commentary.
He absolutely was, and he peaked at the end of Tony Storm versus Mina Shirakawa, where he just stood up, gave an ovation, and was bawling his eyes out over the win.
I sent a screenshot of that to Matty.
It was when they kissed, and then peek behind the curtain here. I know someone who was at Forbidden Door last night, and I've been messaging back and forth with them a little bit, and from what I can gather, the moment when Nigel stood up to start applauding, that got shown on the big screen, and you can hear the audience, and you can hear the audience laugh, and it's because they saw Nigel going mental on the commentary table after what happened.
It's like that anime gif of the guy crying and clapping at the same time. It's just, I did send a photo to Matty, and I was just like, I can't with Nigel anymore, but this is amazing.
Do you know what? I even like JR. For the last two matches of the show. He was on his game.
It was so nice to hear him. I'm not going to lie, because I have missed hearing JR. I know he hasn't been well of late. You could kind of tell a little bit, but he had fun, especially in the main event.
They all
it was
did.
Great. Yeah.
I for the pay-per-views, I want the team of Nigel, Taz, and Excalibur to be your primary team. Like, you can sub in Tony Schiavone, you can bring in JR for the main event, but those three have got to be your baseline. Oh, hitting the mic. Your baseline commentary team, because the three of them just work so well together. Especially the work of Nigel McGuinness, where he throws in and peppers in such heel nuances and little jokes in between, and does it so subtly. It's really, really fun. WWE, when they got rid of him, not once but twice, they missed a trick. They really did, because he was fantastic in the UK Championship tournament. One of the best things of the whole show. And they dropped the ball with him, something massive. The fact that AEW have got him on their commentary team has got to be one of their biggest wins, because that is a star commentator there. You know, and I miss him as a racer.
You know what also works though? The fact that he's being. Do you know what? In fact, Jay, you just taken the words right out of my mouth, so I'll bring it up on the screen.
I just remembered
His
something.
hate for Danielson is
That's exactly
so
what I'm talking
good.
about.
But also, the fact he keeps managing to sneak very rude British things on American TV, and we're all laughing our asses off. He is clearly just trying to play a poker face on commentary. And the guys have got no idea what's being said. And he's also now on this show having a little jibe at Taz about the fact, like, it may have been Excalibur that said it, but like someone said to Taz on commentary during the Orange and Zack match of, I bet this match is really hard for you, isn't it, Taz? And eventually Taz went, what do you mean? Oh, because we got Orange wrestling a guy in Orange.
Oh, that's been going on for weeks. That's been going on for weeks.
But it was the fact he had two. But it's the fact he had two wrestlers in Orange. And it's just
Taz
there was, I can't remember what it was. There was one thing. Oh, that was it. It was when they were talking about, maybe Zack will be the British suplex machine. And then Taz's like, nah, that's trademarked.
Yeah.
Just so good.
Wasn't there also in... Sorry, go on.
I was one last thing about Nigel McGuinness, and it cracked me up. I was hanging up laundry while this is going on. I was paying my attention, everybody. Don't at me. But
you were listening to the dulcet tones of Nigel.
Yes. So there was one point where Brian Danielson, I will get the name right. I keep flipping.
I do that as well.
If in doubt, just say Brian.
he did his usual thing is, I'm going to kick his effing head in, but didn't say effing. And you could just hear Nigel saying, potty mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
I think also...
Anyway, carry on.
I was going to say also, I think Nigel kind of pushed it back with Taz, especially with Hook, now that Jericho has the championship that he lost to Hook, and obviously there was that whole history there, and he was just like, I'm not bitter about it. Sort of thing. But
clearly you
Nigel
are.
was just like,
That was the thing as well, though. When Hook tapped out Jericho, no, he did the Judas effect.
The Judas effect. Yeah.
Hook needs to do that, but when he did that and got the pin, they zoom in on Taz, and he's just like,
yeah, he stood up. Yeah.
Do you know what Jericho's going to be like come Dynamite? He says, "Hey guys, I got the young talent over."
He even learnt the Judas effect from me. Oh god,
yeah.
Gonna be I hate the fact I like this. I hate the fact I like this, but it's just it's.
I hate it with every fibre of my being. That's why I just kept on waving at the very start, because I was hoping for one of you to feed me. And I said, "How do you feel, Maddie?" I said, "I hate this with every fibre of my being." Keeping the smile, but instead I got, "Stop it! You're being annoying."
Oh no, that was the reason, Matty, because I knew you were going to keep going. So I thought I'd just feed into it in that way.
I love also in regards to that match, and prior to that as well with Samoa Joe, how proud is he of Hook and Shibata doing the sidewalk?
Yeah.
The double move to the side.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I could just imagine he did the thing.
One of the first scenes we got of Samoa Joe being proper babyface, and he is now. He's coming out the babyface tunnel. He's a babyface. We all got to live with this fact. Unfortunately, he will turn because he's Samoa Joe. It's what he does. But one of their first conversations on the backstage promo was them discussing why Taz loves the colour orange. And like Hook's like, I don't know, man.
Oh god!
Taz is going to have us
names. Oh no!
Yeah, Taz is going to hate us because our names are in orange.
Hey, you know what? In the polite way to put it, Decadane, that is your fault. You chose the color scheme. Taz is going on you. So we were talking about JR and the fact that he came out for the last two matches, and of course, one of those matches was the IWGP title match. Tetsuya Naito defeating Jon Moxley. So. What?
The screenshot there.
I'm trying to be really polite about it. I'll just say it. This was naff. That is the politest I can be about this. Like, this was naff. And unfortunately, it just comes down to the fact that Naito as a presence is amazing. As a character, a persona, Naito is so good. But him and Moxley, I've not seen the match where Moxley won the belt a few months back. But from what I can tell from some people whose opinions I trust when it comes to Japanese wrestling, the match wasn't exactly great. And apparently they even went so far as to say this was worse.
This felt like Naito was going through the motions, so he went through all his standard moves, and that was it. This was very much a New Japan "we want the belt back" match, and that was it.
I felt that. I'm not gonna lie, because even though I know of Kaito anyway, because of is it sorry, what's his name?
Naito.
So I know, so I know of him because he's the only one I fairly recognize, because obviously of the cat thing prior.
Yeah.
Hiromu Takahashi. Yeah.
That's
and Daryl and what? No, do you know what? That's a logical link to have, genuinely. So that's good.
Yeah. So it did feel like okay, you've had your fun. Can we have it back now, please?
But you know what? Moxley was so good though. Like him.
Yeah.
So this is the thing we didn't really get to experience much of it the past few months. We got little glimpses of it. But Moxley effectively being the equivalent of King Kong strong style is such good fun. Him just battering the hell out of Naito was great fun.
Yeah, Naito was getting bashed.
I think the main problem with the casual fan and Moxley's whole entire thing with the IWGP Championship isn't so much on Moxley, isn't so much on New Japan. We mostly just saw it from one side, and the one side we saw was basically the AEW booking of it all. And the AEW booking of it all is Moxley will just have random matches with random people over the defense of the IWGP Championship. And so obviously with certain New Japan people calling him out on that, saying, why don't we get this? Why don't we get that? Hello, Jeff Cobb. That's what we felt, and that's what we saw. And if you hadn't seen Moxley's defense of the title the other side of the ocean, it is kind of not fair on that regard. His matches in New Japan are probably like your proper strong style defenses with actual like bona fide contenders. If you saw all of that, great. If all you saw was the AEW part, it's just him holding a belt, which is a shame, because that should be one of the biggest prizes in like wrestling history, or was anyway.
I mean, that's what it kind of feels like to me, because I didn't know any significance apart from Moxley holding the belt. That was it.
I have very strong feelings about the IWGP Championship, who I won't go into here, but Jamie has pretty much felt my wrath about it a few months ago. So, but
if anything, though, what this does bring up though is an interesting element, and this potentially could be a source of discussion, be it today or a different day. But in terms of the crossover appeal of this show and what it represents, like we sort of discussed at the beginning, this is arguably an element, that this particular instance of Moxley and Tetsuya Naito, whereby they could only show or do so much on the AEW side to make the, let's say, I'm trying to be polite about how I phrase it, but the folks who aren't as familiar with New Japan, like you would just say, Harriet, sort of how do you get interested in it in a way? And forgive me if I have to put words in your mouth there, but in essence, that kind of feeling. How do they make you care about this belt that Moxley's randomly shown up on Dynamite with for a few weeks and whatnot? And arguably, a way to do that is to just start showing more footage of what people are doing elsewhere. It's like on sometimes, and not just use a WWE comparison, but I remember back in like the OG draft, dating myself a bit here, what they would do is they would have like a 3 to 4 minute segment of like the Raw Rebound or something like that. If you're watching SmackDown, where they basically give you a quick 4 minute highlight of a few things that happened on Raw, even though you're not watching Raw. You almost kind of want like the equivalent of like a little, around the globe report of AEW wrestlers of what have people been doing. I mean, it's something we've discussed privately, Matty, and I'll never bring it up on TV most likely, but it's like, Danhausen is the GCW champion at the moment, or has been anyway. And it's like, Danhausen's an AEW talent not being acknowledged. It's like, that's a way of actually saying, oh, wrestlers are going elsewhere and doing stuff. But that's an example of something you could literally sum up with a couple of minutes video package a week, and it might actually be quite interesting to do that.
I have personal feelings about that, Jeremy. I have personal feelings about that.
I know, but it's a case in point, where there is someone being very active. And it's like, come the G1. Takeshita is going to be in the G1. I don't know if you're aware of this, Harriet, but Takeshita is actually going to be in the G1 tournament for New Japan this year. And
okay.
night one, he's wrestling Yota Tsuji. I can't wait. But that would be an instance where it's like he's going to be gone for like a month. Give me like a little video package, or have Don Callis mention it or something. Like, hey, look, folks, watch
to
this
lure
video.
you in, sort of thing. Yeah,
Exactly. I'm going to sneeze, pardon me.
While you sneeze, I'm just going to quickly surmise about my feelings about the Danhausen thing.
I will give you 60 seconds to do it.
AEW are done with him. End of. That's it. He's sitting out his contract. Bye. Contract over soon, because they don't just they don't release people willy-nilly like some other companies do. They let him just sit out their contracts. I think Danhausen is one of the people on that list because he's removed all of his socials. All of his socials don't even mention AEW, and AEW in turn don't mention Danhausen. It's as simple.
I think he's in London one weekend in September.
I hope I'm wrong, by the way.
He's doing a show in Weymouth.
Oh, well, there you are.
I mean, I just know. But also, to their credit, at least AEW are letting him wrestle elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
they're not like holding. There's no clause basically to hold him back from wrestling.
None at all.
But yeah, so it might be interesting if that could be a thing that they develop over the coming year, if they really wanted to kind of emphasize like the relationship element, especially now, which I think you may have mentioned in passing earlier, Matty. If not, it was us talking privately earlier. But also announced during this show was the Wrestle Dynasty show for the day after Wrestle Kingdom in January, because Wrestle Kingdom for New Japan is January the 4th. Wrestle Dynasty, however you want to pronounce it, will be January the 5th, which is going to feature at least New Japan, AEW, ROH, technically the same, but we'll put that aside. I think they said Stardom and CMLL currently announced.
Yes, so basically all the promotions that are closely affiliated with New Japan. So this is essentially like
the Japanese equivalent of Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
So, New Japan have been doing these around January anyway, where it would be Fantastica Mania with CMLL. They used to do, I forgot the thing, something by honor. Something, I can't remember. It's they used to do the big crossover event with Ring of Honor. They used to do that in January as well. And now
I don't know what you mean. The name was just completely gone out.
Same.
It's literally gone over my head now. I did have it and it's gone. So for me,
it's gone quicker than the Carl Fletcher Serpentico match on the pre-show.
And that was pretty quick, you know. That is pretty darn quick. So it doesn't surprise me. Also, recently they also had their crossovers with Noah around this time as well. And they called it something like Wrestle Kingdom
that was
3 or something.
Yeah, it was Wrestle Kingdom like day 3 effectively, or in Yokohama.
Even though it was much later in January.
Yeah.
It's
a fair shout when I mention it.
This doesn't surprise me. But also they mentioned Ring of Honor like it was a completely different company.
And as Jay's actually pointed out, it's gonna be in the Tokyo Dome.
Actually in the Tokyo Dome. We do actually know that Wrestle Kingdom itself is actually happening January the 4th as normal, right?
Correct.
Cool. So that's it. So it is like a separate show.
Yeah.
So you talk about introducing people to New Japan and their continuing working relationship with AEW. AEW need to present this as live as one of their pay-per-views. It's as simple as, so that all like not just have it as like a Triller TV thing. Don't just have it as a New Japan World thing. Literally allow AEW to present it as a pay-per-view. And before people say, well, that doesn't gel with time zones or anything like that, WWE don't adhere to time zones anymore. So it's fine.
Okay, the only thing, and this is partly showing some of my business knowledge now, the only thing that may come into play on that is the Japanese licensing relating to the event.
Which has always been
if a Japanese broadcaster has already secured the right, it may limit how far of a distribution window there could be. So it may only be able to be shown live, for example, via an internet pay-per-view.
Which is why I'm hoping that this got arranged with AEW around that end of things as opposed to the Japanese end of things. Unless this is basically part of the exchange where, right, AEW have been allowed to do Forbidden Door, we're allowed to do this show. which seems like a fair exchange to me. But yeah, I mean, anything to get any new sets of eyes on any promotion is always worth doing, I say. So that in my mind,
just from an experience point of view.
Yeah, in my mind, that's the way you should do it. But as you said, Jeremy, I agree because I've seen that sort of thing firsthand as well. Licenses and businesses in Japan's always been a fair hard nut to crack. So yeah, absolutely. Anyway, with that being said.
Yeah, so overall, Forbidden Door, great fun, as it were. I know I said thumbs in the middle, as we've talked about it, and I did say at the start, it was kind of more towards a thumbs up than like a down in the middle. But there was a lot of great stuff on the show. There are still some things we've really not even touched on, quite frankly. But overall, if you've not seen Forbidden Door, at the very least, go out of your way to see the main event.
Yes.
For sure.
Literally, just go out of your way to see that. It is fantastic. The ladder match, actually, Harry, I think this is something we could probably elaborate on a bit more now, because I know that was one of your picks. I thought this ladder match was freaking batshit in places, quite frankly.
Yes. Very much.
I think this is one of them. What's the way to phrase this? Compared to other ladder matches we have seen in recent years, this felt far more chaotic compared to what we have seen. Like, there was some ridiculous things. And in fact, Jay in the YouTube chat has just said, I hated Jack Perry winning. I thought Jack Perry winning was probably the only way this was going to go. But you know what I loved? I loved when there was a light bulb moment in the match when everybody in that New York crowd suddenly went, this Takeshita's really freaking good. We want him to win.
Yeah.
And they just started really cheering him, which good, because Takeshita's freaking amazing. Though the one amusing part was, I think, he was about to get the belt and then Mark Briscoe stopped him from doing it. And you could hear there was a moment when the crowd went, I don't want to boo Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
The hesitation. I mean, if you're going to start the match with 4 people with ladders in their hands going full gun-ho, you know it's going to start. I was just like, right, okay, I'm in. I'm interested.
Also, as well, credit to Dante Martin, because I don't know if you're aware, Harriet, but he was involved in a ladder match on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view about a year and a half ago or so.
I did hear it briefly at the beginning, Yeah,
I will not elaborate on what happened because it may make you judder in quite a bad way. He had a really, really bad foot injury, and it kept him out for nearly a year, and you saw it on camera, and it was genuinely horrific, what you could see.
I think I might have seen it, maybe.
So it was only on camera for a brief second, but of course, there was video from fans at ringside, and they got around. So the fact that he has come back, he still looks as damn good as ever, and he's agreed to be in a ladder match again. Like, freaking heck, it's balls of steel, quite frankly.
Yeah, there was a moment where he was powerbombed, like on his neck, wasn't he, or like on the ladder, which is like.
And you have to be careful with the Martin brothers because they take turns on being injured.
But
I mean,
to add to the whole
Darius is
Takeshita's
injured again.
Yeah, but to add to the Takeshita is great thing, when he did that blue thunder bomb through the tables on the outside, that was
my god, that was good. I think even at one point the crowd shouted out at Jack Perry, "We want real girls," and he just went. He was just like.
But of course, now what this does mean, and we've not even touched on the Elite actually at all in this, but barring me mentioning Okada once, but. This now means that all 4 members of the current Elite have a championship. But I also want to draw attention to the fact of the pre-show video, the pre-match video rather, before the Elite's trio match, which was basically what I'm calling Elite propaganda, in that they were talking about how they were pioneers of making things happen, and they blurred out Kenny Omega's face anytime they were walking with him in a shot. I laughed so hard.
I'm glad you're explaining this because, full disclosure, I skipped all the promos to just get to the matches because I had a time limit, guys. I had to.
No, that's fair.
You need to go back and watch this video, Matty. It's really good.
Oh, I will.
It's great.
I will.
Yeah.
But of course,
more time tomorrow.
But also, I'm also going to say that Max Caster in recent weeks on AEW TV has not been able / allowed to cut a rap promo. And he made up for for like storyline, like Okada cutting off his mic and then calling him bitch and stuff like that. And so Max Caster made up for lost time, because I reckon if you were playing a drinking game for every time Max Caster said bitch in that rap promo, I reckon you wouldn't have lasted the whole show.
Nope.
It was all in one sentence.
It was pretty impressive. But also, there was a wonderful moment a couple of times that similar things occurred, but there's one moment in particular that's doing the rounds online, which even I loved. It's when one of the brothers Jackson had the headphones of Max Caster, put it on.
Oh, yeah.
And they started making it looking like they were a DJ, and there's Okada just like dancing around like he's on the decks and stuff. It's wonderful. Much like Mark Briscoe, Okada is a national treasure and must be protected at all costs.
Oh my god! Even at the beginning, where Tanahashi, when they were when Max Caster was rapping, you just see doing his rock because they did that as well during the fight, like the air guitar. That was it. One of the brothers smashed the imaginary air guitar, and I was just like,
Did people forget about the back history with the Young Bucks in New Japan as well? Because they used to be those TWATs in the Bullet Club, and they would do all of that. They absolutely do all that. Can I say 2 points about dear old Tanahashi here? Number one, he needs to start reconsidering his ring gear, because he had to keep pulling his trunks up so many damn times. And also,
you could argue it's just to emphasize how good of shape he's in.
Go Ace.
Matty was distracted.
But also, one other point, Tanahashi was the guy who ate the pin.
Yes.
And New Japan,
I didn't see it being any other way.
He wouldn't be the guy to eat the pin normally if it was the other company.
So it's funny you mention that, because I didn't see the match going any other way, only because the Bucks weren't going to get pinned unless it was by one of the Acclaimed, because there's a tag title match coming up. Okada Okada wasn't going to take the pin, but also they're still playing up this everlasting rivalry between Okada and Tanahashi. And I just see it being one of those things that Tanahashi is never going to get another win over Okada until it's literally Tanahashi's retirement match. And it'll be like the world's it'll be like the world's weirdest 6-man tag match or something. And he'll just randomly get a pin.
His retirement match, right? So in about another 20 years.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I'm glad we're on the same wavelength. But
we know Okada's still young.
The show. There you go. Other things that occurred across the entire show. Oh yeah, there was the 4-way tag match where Brody King literally got brain busted by Ishii by accident.
Oh my god. That was
you haven't seen this, Harry, but Tomohiro Ishii, compared to Brody King, of which, by the way, those two slugging it out, I need a singles match ASAP. Thank you, Tony Khan. But Ishii eventually gets Brody King up for a brainbuster, but size-wise, there's a lot more Brody King compared to Ishii. And Ishii kind of just dropped him on his head on a brainbuster because, size and gravity. Not intentionally. Brody King is seemingly fine, but you could tell he had his bell rung for a minute or two.
I'm not surprised, Jesus.
It's normally Ishii that has those sort of head drops.
Yeah, right. But yeah, like I say, even though I gave this a thumbs in the middle, overall, thinking back on it, I probably would lean more towards a thumbs up now we've been talking about it more. But at the time, watching it in the manner I did, which was kind of just like almost like straight through, it was a long show. But realistically speaking, for everything that was good fun about this show, regardless of what you ultimately thought about it, when push comes to shove, and I hate to say this, I think the one everlasting memory of this show is going to be the main event.
Yeah.
True,
because
it's the storylines for AEW which has got to progress. And what we had was Maria and Tony, Mercedes Moné being double champ to really stick it to the rest of the women's division, and that main event, and the storylines and the progression that's going to go on from there. and the opening with MJF. All of that was incredibly important. So you're right on that one. I'm with you on this, by the way, Jeremy. I'm thumbs in the middle, literally because the quality of the matches was excellent, and the Jericho match was there too. But the sheer length of the show was what ultimately kind of did it for me. If I had the ability and I'd watch the show in bits, then I wouldn't even be doing that. It would be doing that. But the fact that I had to really try and go through the entire show without much of a break, that can be a bit of a killer.
Yeah. And you know what, as well, I will say that it is weird because I'm thinking back and it's like, why did I give it a thumbs in the middle? I've talked so much and so well about it, but it's just how I felt when the show was done. Literally, that's what I'm going by. But at the same time, there is a part of me, it's just like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Thumbs in the middle still means good at the very least. Yeah. And the way we've talked about it, exactly, it demonstrates it was a damn good show. But again, that main event is what's going to be remembered ultimately. This may come back to bite me if I say this. You could argue, you look back in 6 months' time, the only thing that people may remember about this show off the top of their head will be that main event. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just, what's the first thing you're going to think of? That main event.
Yeah. Exactly.
No one's going to remember Naito and Mox, unfortunately.
Some people might argue they don't want to remember it, but that's a debate for another day. So I guess looking forward to wrap up, because we're going to sort of gradually wind down now. In terms of other things that have been announced for Dynamite, we've got Chris Statlander and Willow in the semi-final match in the Owen Hart tournament on the female side of things. We've got Bryan Danielson and Pac on the men's side of things in a semi-final match. You know what else we've got in the Owen Hart tournament? We have got Jeff Jarrett versus, per last week's Dynamite, the Elite's wild card pick. Who do you think the Elite's wild card pick may be?
I'm probably not the best person because I'm still learning. So,
that's fine.
So I'll leave this to Matty.
Go, Barry Windham.
So,
Mother Cowboy. All right.
I will put out a random prediction here.
Okay.
So this is me. This shows you how much I listen far too much, Harriet, and I'm going to apologize for this now. When the Elite reformed and added Okada and Jack Perry into the mix, they fired Kenny Omega from the Elite. They only suspended Adam Page.
Yeah.
Could it be if the angry millennial cowboy, very angry at that point in time, maybe comes back, or a certain Ricochet-like person is now out of contract?
Oh! I forgot about Ricochet. Yes.
Could he potentially... Which, can I just say, the idea of Jeff Jarrett v. Ricochet, let alone in 2024, is mental.
I will point out that whoever they put in the wild card has been personally handpicked by the Elite.
Exactly.
So
it could be Ricochet.
Does that make Ricochet a heel?
Not necessarily. It could be another Ospreay situation with Don Callis.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that too many times, though, I say. Although, imagine Ricochet and Ospreay again.
If MJF and Ospreay doesn't happen at Wembley, it will be that. So I want to draw your attention to one thing now you've mentioned that, Matty, and this is totally off the beaten path, but I feel the need to point it out.
I'm listening.
Have you noticed in recent weeks on television that Roderick Strong is wanting to be friends with Kyle O'Reilly?
Yes. Because they can't quit each other.
Am I losing my mind? Or about a month ago, maybe even at a pay-per-view called Dynasty, when Roderick was still international champion, did him and his friends not attack Kyle O'Reilly because he wouldn't join back up with them, thus no longer being friends? And it's like someone just deleted their save file in their video game and we've gone back to the beginning of it.
Jeremy, you've witnessed like the whole thing about Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Reed Dragon and the Kingdom. They do this all the time. They forget. They backstab each other all the frigging time. And they just want to be the best of buds. This happens at least through 4 different promotions. This is always going to happen.
I mean, you're not wrong. Also, just to add something else here, I will say that Jay over in the YouTube chat is saying in regards to Ricochet, thought he was going to debut last night because he has history of Will and Swerve. Very, very true. The history of Swerve dating back to Lucha Underground when Ricochet was Prince Puma and Swerve was, I want to say Kill Shot, I think was his name, if I remember. It was one of those. But with that being said, we'll sort of do a little any other business relating to AEW, as it were. Anything else at all? And also, I will say Britt Baker is going to appear on Dynamite, so we'll get to hear from her most likely. But any other general thoughts regarding Forbidden Door, upcoming things you may think happened? The floor is open to both of you. Matty, I'll let you go first.
As per usual, great work, great wrestling. I hate that I don't watch an awful lot of the weekly product. I might have Dynamite on as I'm doing other things. I absolutely hate that I just skip a lot of the weekly product because they're pay-per-views, no matter the lack of build. I say this every review, Jamie. I'm going to say it again. I'm so sorry. But it always seems to me that somehow it works. It just works. It just works because what we get is a goddamn great show. And it never really seems to pay forward through the weekly shows. And I think you've got to have like both working in perfect synchronicity. And to that end, if it was just Dynamite, that would be great. They've spread themselves a bit too thin. I digress. Despite that, pay-per-views always great. Absolutely great. Even the most lackluster pay-per-views have always got some excellent wrestling in. And that's what I look for. So that's pretty much my closing moments. But I do have one question to Harriett. As a person who's only really just starting watching the product now and started with us with the reviews for the last AEW pay-per-view, has this convinced you to continue?
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think
Success!
like yourself. Need to rope me in now. I think with me, it's like Matty said, there's so much wrestling on in the week. It's just like it's sitting down to watch it. Even today, it was like I was struggling to watch it in between doing stuff, but it was just like I kind of watched the reviews on other wrestling channels afterwards as my kind of catch-up synopsis, so to speak. But even though I have the subscription now, I can watch it, but it's just like it's sitting down to watch it. But I should really make an effort to watch it more. But yeah, I mean, the pay-per-views are great. I mean, it was All In last year that kind of got me into it, like kind of the my door opening, so to speak, into that. Because I've known of it beforehand, but never really watched it or stuff like that.
That was your Forbidden Door via Ticketmaster.
Getting through those gates, I tell you, that was
yeah, literally. Those turnstiles at Wembley are not fun. I'm just saying.
They are,
no.
Gonna experience that all again soon, I tell you.
I won't be. I'll be watching at home. I'll be watching from
Sorry,
home.
Harriet, we cut your Harriet. Sorry, please continue.
No, that's okay. No, but yeah, I do see myself, I think like Matty, I enjoy the pay-per-views. At least they kind of give you an idea of what happens beforehand. So I kind of am aware of some storylines of whatnot. I think because the next one is All In, isn't it?
Correct.
So yes. Yeah. So at least I'll have a bit of time in regards to building up what's going to happen. I mean, like we said, we've already kind of speculated what's going to happen, could be, and I'm looking forward to those matches immensely. But yeah, this I can see myself watching more of it. I just need to watch more of it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I will add as well, on Dynamite on Wednesday, I forgot to mention in what I was saying a minute ago. Of course, international title match, Ospreay defends against Daniel Garcia. I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, but that's also happening Wednesday. So Dynamite is loaded, of which I will say, speaking as someone who admittedly at this point can really only watch Dynamite every week, and I try and watch the odd bit of Collision here and there, you can get away with just watching Dynamite. And if you hear about other stuff that happens, you at least know you've got the subscription on Triller, Fight, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Fight is my friend once called it.
Triller TV powered by Fight is its full title.
Okay.
Fight. If you just put in fight.tv, it still goes there. Like, I'm just saying, like, literally.
That's how I found it.
Yeah, there you go. And in terms of how we find that, how can you find us elsewhere, folks? Because we all do our own thing here and there as well as BunkaMania. So, Harriet, to begin with, I'll open the floor to you. Let people know how they can find what you do elsewhere, as it were.
So I'm back in the line of streaming now again, which is good. So you can find me on Twitch, Harriet_Manga Girl. On Twitter, at MangaGirl232. I usually share what I'm going to do each time I stream. But you can follow me on Twitch as well, because that's when you know I stream. YouTube, I'm slowly trying to get back into in regards to reaction videos. I now currently have 5 I need to catch up with Monday Night War, which is going to take me a while. But just bear with me. They should be up within like a week or two, probably every other day, hopefully very soon. So yeah, you can find me on youtube.com/mangagirl232.
Perfect stuff. And Matty, how about yourself?
You can pretty much find me on X, although I don't post anything on it. So why would you? Under Matty Boo Tweets. But the best place to find me, I find, is probably Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram and /threads under Matty Boo Super. I also have a Twitch. You can find me under Matty Boo Twitches, although I'm very sporadic at the moment from a mix of having a bit of a mental health break, although I'm coming out of that now. And when I do, you probably find me streaming some Stardew Valley and possibly some Telltale Batman at some point. I forgot that we were doing another thing, so I was going to do Batman this weekend, and now I can't. Boo. And that's pretty much it.
Such is the way life goes, as they say. If you want to find me elsewhere, easiest way to do it, folks, the word Giraffemy, Geraffemy. I've got a link tree that will have all the information you need there. Linktree/Giraffemy. Imagine Jeremy plus a giraffe. It does work somehow. Geraffemy. But in terms of this channel that we are on right now, BunkaMania UK, make sure if you haven't already, be you watching on Twitch and or YouTube, or you've downloaded the audio version, make sure you hit subscribe. The next bit of content you will find from us most likely will be this coming weekend. How is it this coming weekend? Because
it will be.
It will be
as well. It will be the WWE MITB review, because we all only need acronyms now, people. The WWE MITB PPV
PLE, please.
PLE.
PLE, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That'll do. So yes, there will be a review coming of that. That will most likely feature the Decadane, as well as Harriet and Matty Boo discussing that. Keep what was I going to say? I had a really fancy thing then. I forgot it. Just stay subscribed. Look on Twitter and stuff. You can find all the links over on the BunkaMania channels accordingly, and then make sure you hit the notification bells and such on your respective platforms so you know when we have gone live to discuss some wrestling, or heck, maybe play some video games. You never know. With that being said, from myself, Jeremy, alongside me was Harriet and Matty. We have discussed AEW Forbidden Door in our own casual roundabout way. We hope you've enjoyed it. Do let us know if you have, because if you enjoy this kind of free-flowing discussion, it may be something we bring back in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we have been BunkaMania Wrestling, signing out. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.